According to the law of Georgia on refugee and humanitarian status that acts since March 2012, refugee status is granted to a person who is not a citizen of Georgia or a stateless person permanently residing in Georgia. Also to a person who is in Georgia and has a reasonable fear that he or she may become a victim of persecution on the basis of race, religion, faith, ethnicity, belonging to a certain social group or political views, and cannot or doesn't want because of such fear to return to the country of origin or be under the protection of such a country. There is war in our country. Every single day terrorists kill people. I was born in Iran. After we flee to Azerbaijan, Irani don't like our people. They can't stand us. They beated us. We have experienced problems in Azerbaijan as well because of religion. Humanitarian status is granted to a person that is not a citizen of Georgia or is a permanent resident of Georgia without citizenship of any of the countries and doesn't meet requirements of refugee status and was forced to leave the country of origin due to violence, external aggression, occupation, internal conflicts, mass violence of human rights or significant breach of public order. They were searching for a cause in everything. If I were a good mother or not, looking into my fridge, how much pension money my mother received each month. Finally, representative of the head of administration came to me and said, if you are a single mother, no one can protect you. I can register your children and send your mother to elderly house. They don't live long there, and you must keep quiet and not ask anyone for help.
UNHCR,
United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. UNHCR representative office in Georgia actively defends rights of asylum seekers, refugees, IDPs and stateless persons and extends its program step by step to meet newly emerged needs. UNHCR established its representative office in Georgia in 1993 to provide humanitarian help to IDPs from emerged conflict in Abkhazia. People from about 60 countries seek asylum in Georgia. Among these countries, majority of asylum seekers come from Iraq, Ukraine, Egypt, Iran, Syria, Russia, Bangladesh, Nigeria, and Turkey. With UNHCR support in Georgia, there are, since 2010, marked copy reception center for asylum seekers, accommodates vulnerable individuals and their families to whom safe shelter is the basic need. Since 2017, Integration Center for Refugees and Humanitarian Status Holders opened its door, where people under international protection can learn Georgian, basics of acting law, history of Georgia and its cultural characteristics to help their further integration in the country. In partnership with UNHCR, UN Association of Georgia established Open House, another integration center for refugees where they can participate in English and Georgian language classes and cultural events.
ქალთა საკონსულტაციო ცენტრი იყო ის პირველი ორგანიზაცია.
Advice Center for Women Sachli was the first organization in Georgia that started to work on gender-based and domestic violence issues. In 2007, with support of UNHCR, Sachli opened the first shelter for victims of violence among IDPs and refugees that was functioning until 2012. After we've run several crisis centers for victims of violence in Tbilisi, Gori and რუსთავი.
199 ბენეფიციარმა გაიარა მომსახურეობა, ფსიქოლოგიური, სოციალური.
The shelter accommodated 189 individuals and they benefited from our psychological help, counseling, social support and legal advice all at one place. 2,019 individuals used our services at crisis centers. Women victims of physical, psychological and emotional violence were coming to us. Their psychological state was very severe and they first felt very safe and secure with us. In order to identify the problems that people are facing while they are forced to flee, Sakhli permanently conducts studies and surveys to better understand issues and needs. Besides basic problems such as unemployment, inactive lifestyle and isolation, we have identified that domestic violence is a taboo and highly suppressed subject among these individuals. They hardly admit facts of violence they have experienced. Majority of the individuals that we have interviewed also admit that they have psycho-emotional and mental issues. Refugees during fleeing and while in the host country face important problems and stress factors, among which risk associated with physical security, restricted access to basic services, education, unemployment, racism and xenophobia, physical security issues. They are in vulnerable position and individuals may strongly influence them psychologically and force them to act in conformity, despite their desire. My son went to school and problems started as we were immigrants. His classmates tried to kill him, literally. The whole group was beating him when they found out that my husband was African. They abused him. Refugee children have very hard experience. Frequently, they don't understand why they are in a new environment with new people, and they have difficult time to deal with the hardship and express themselves, especially when they have witnessed domestic violence. What was the reason to flee from Afghanistan? Robbery, attack, terrorism, and this boy was always harassing me. With my children, I flee to Dubai from Afghanistan, where my husband was treating me very badly. He used to beat me violently and after disappeared for weeks. His parents forced him to marry me and he wasn't happy. Did he also commit violence towards children? My husband tortured me badly. Earlier, he also committed acts of violence towards children, but mainly it was done to me, to a woman. Have your children ever witnessed the violent attacks? Yes. Violence against women is a global problem that doesn't have borders, religious or national differentiating characteristics. However, countries differ in their strategies to identify and respond to this issue. Situation is very different in Arabic world. Woman and man, when they come face to face, woman is powerless, worthless. That is the worst thing in that culture, bad custom in Arabic world. I entirely dislike that culture generally. People who flee from foreign countries have difficulties to adapt to new environments. It is highly important to provide these individuals with complete psychological support to make them feel safe first and secure and help them to integrate into new environments. Each individual who comes from other countries here experiences culture shock first. They have gone through traumatic situations, suffered from structural violence, and experienced different hardships like domestic violence, attacks by organized groups, and etc. So, first of all, with beneficiaries who we work with, women and children, we work to help them to overcome trauma first and deal with post-traumatic disorders. Also, we help them to overcome culture shock and integrate better into the new society. Young boy wanted to marry me in Afghanistan, but parents didn't give their permission. He went to Turkey for 5 years. I got married, had 3 children, but then this boy returned and was mad at me. My situation was very hard, and because of this I had difficulties with my father-in-law. I didn't love him and he didn't love me, but we got married. My brother made his decision after my father passed away. My father was very different and brought me up differently. I agreed to this marriage for the love of my parents. Social support is a very important component to overcome violence. Members of our organization understand this very well, and along with specialized services to refugee representatives, we provide opportunities to aid their integration into Georgian society, teach them about cultural traits, engage them in sports and cultural events. Psychosocial rehabilitation of victims of gender-based and domestic violence requires multidisciplinary approach. This topic is very sensitive, and beneficiaries hardly approach us directly and speak openly about their traumas and psychological problems. Therefore, while work, we use indirect methods. And by indirect methods, I mean art therapy, group work, and participation in different events. All these means help us to establish trustful relationships with the beneficiary, and healing is possible. Other important component of our work is group work with refugee community. Education in the subject matter of domestic violence and its results. We need to provide comforting feeling that they are not alone in their hard experience. Generally, there is such culture in Arabia that when a woman has a problem in her family, she goes to her parents or her husband's parents, sister or a relative to find a solution together. Here, as they are far away from their families, we can offer them this support and find a solution together. Human relationships in small groups can have a major impact on dealing with loss, grief, fear, loneliness, and trauma. I don't want to go back to Ukraine. They abuse and kill each other there. I do not want to be there. Ukraine, Georgia is my country. Here is better than Iran, better than Azerbaijan. Here we can move freely, go wherever we want. In Iran, people may attack, abuse us and beat us anytime. It's not an issue here. We found what we were looking for here. We would like to thank Ministry of Georgia, UN and every Georgian. I love Georgia. In trustful, safe and supportive environment, people develop resources to help themselves psychologically and adequately assess past traumas. If one decides to leave home country, they should never go back. It will be worse. If Georgia accepts us, I will breathe freely.
Ничего не надо будет бояться.
ჩვენ ერთმანეთის მიმართ ნდობა და უსაფრთხოების გრძნობა.
We first need to establish trust and feeling of safety between us, and only after that is possible to talk about such traumatic issues as domestic violence, gender-based violence, which is a taboo in the whole world, and countries differ in quality to identify this problem.
განსხვავდებიან ამ პრობლემის გამოვლენის ხარისხის და მიხედვით.
First of all, people need to think about creating a stable life. Under this, I mean to choose a country that is safe, where you can safely exit your home and where you do not have to think what to say and how to say and what to say to not to be killed, the way it happens in Iraq. You need to decide where to live, take care of your home, your work, find means of living to support your life. This is a major decision. I'm very happy, first of all, meeting you and having this conversation. Here in Georgia, I feel safe. I'm glad that my children will receive education. My husband tortured me and kids. Here they are better. It's a safe country. I never had problems here. I wish to stay here. People are nice. I do not want tomorrow to be dark. A place where I face no threat is my home.